Welcome to Gallifrey Stands. I'm Dr. Squee, and with me, as always, somewhere about is Woo. And this week, we're going to be talking about the last two episodes of this series of Doctor Who. Sorry we couldn't be with you last week, but just things got away from me. So we're doing a double this week. But before we start, wait a minute, I've just had a thought, won't it? They brought back an old enemy of the Doctor this week, Sutek. Sorry, we are going to, spoilers just in case anyone doesn't know, we are going to talk about the whole episode, but Sutek, if you look at the letters, if you place the T with an N and then replace one of the letters, which apparently you can do in an anagram now, it makes soon. Oh my God. Anyway, we will never mind that now. Please welcome my guest this week from the High Council of Geeks. It's Captain Jack. Oh, sorry,
Hello.
It's Captain Jack. You've gone Captain this week. You've confused me. I almost oh no, I've gone the wrong one.
No, it's perfectly fine. Captain Jack.
I know, I just wasn't expecting it. I thought, oh, I've actually hit on Jim. Anyway, and from the Recheck podcast and also the High Council of Geeks along with me is Captain Jim.
Hello.
We've got all the captains this week. How are we doing, gents?
Good.
Yeah, doing well.
Yeah, I wasn't pleased with the anagram thing, but we'll get into that. Anyway, so...
You will.
I was like, how can you can't just change a letter then at the end? If you just rearrange letters, ignore half them. Then anyway, we'll get there. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to do our usual thing of saying, what did you think of the episode overall? Because we got 2 episodes to go through. So we will discover what we thought as we went along. As is now traditional, the Doctor crashes into Unit Head HQ with a spinning TARDIS. And it's all show me the lovin'. I am still loving the kind of unit headquarters, still bewildered by the fact that how much it looks like the Avengers Towers. It's just odd. And I do notice they're doing a lot of work hiring very attractive people in unit these days.
Well, she's just throwing job offers around willy-nilly, isn't she? I know that's kind of jumping ahead, but I read a review online that said that's become like Kate Lethbridge-Stewart's catchphrase now is like, do you want a job? Do you want a job? But yeah, they have nice people there. And like you say, it does look like the Avengers. But now that they've got that Disney deal, they're not going to get sued. But it does feel like it's just saying spin-off ready, spin-off, give me the spin-off, we're ready for it, come on, we've got the whole cast now, look at this.
Yeah, there was someone posting, I don't think they were basing it on anything, but they did post this looks like the lineup for the unit spin-off, and I think they might be right.
It does.
Yes, definitely. And the Blinks now just looks like that robot that we always used to see on TV that used to go around singing and crying. We had it at Sci-Fi Weekender a couple of times.
Oh yeah, I remember that robot.
It's it were a man in a suit designed to look like.
The only thing I can think of is Metal Mickey.
No, it was it's a robot, and it used to do the conventions and stuff like that, and it'd sort of drive down the aisle in the middle and spray water on people. It was really impressive, but a bit sort of inside a baseball, but apparently it's very, very expensive to get it for your conventions. So it was decided that it wasn't worth the expense because you can get like 3 other acts for what it costs to get the robot.
We saw it enough times ourselves. I think 3 or 4
Yeah,
times.
and
It
it's good
appeared.
to see that it's found gainful employment in Doctor Who. There you go. The Disney money
Yeah.
can afford it. The Sci-Fi Weekender cannot.
Yeah.
Do you think the guy who owned that robot was like, score? I get to do the conventions again. I can just say it's Doctor Who.
Probably.
As well as the incredibly attractive soldiers which we have about the place, we also have returning. We've got the Doctor's niece, as now is, and we've got the new scientific advisor, which is played by Lenny Rush, I believe it is. But I love this guy. I don't know if everyone's seen Am I Being Unreasonable, which is a sitcom which he does with Daisy May Cooper, where he plays his son. He's excellent in that. He was great in Taskmaster's New Year's Treat. I thought, I mean, he is just so impressive for I think he's only about 15 in real life. And he's just an amazing actor. Yeah, thoughts of the new unit team, in general?
Yeah, the ones that survive seem pretty good.
Well, they all survive, don't they? By the end, they get.
I thought, does the baddie not get disposed of?
What is
The
it?
one who's the
Oh,
one who's the harbinger. Do they not get?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
that
classing her as included.
I mean, look, I get it. It was set up so that at this moment, basically, we would have the reveal of Harbinger being here as well as in the first episode. But damn it, it feels just like the weakest joke of the series being repeated. Like when I saw H. Harbinger, it's like, really? Okay, I suppose Harbinger sounds like a surname, but yeah. And then when it came back in this episode, again, all right.
As we've discovered, the ancient gods like their wordplay.
Yeah, they
don't
like it too
necessarily
sophisticated.
stick to rules, so it's fine.
What did you do for 2,000 years attached to the back of the TARDIS? PowerPoint.
Yeah,
Anagrams.
It's like you had thousands of years attached to the TARDIS, and that's the best you could come up with.
Maybe he came up with something really diabolical and ingenious, and then just was stuck there even longer and got bored of it and was like, you know what, anagrams. I'm just going anagrams.
Do you think
It
he just
only
overthought
worked if he arrived in the 1600s or something like that, and he's like, 2024, I'll make it work, whatever. Just
I'll just wing it. It'll be fine.
I thought this would be France in the 1940s. Why am I here in the 2024s? It's not going to work now.
It was quite nice to see the fact the unit were already kind of up on the idea of the anagram, of TARDIS kind of thing, which is kind of nice. I thought actually this way it was quite nice to see as well Kate Lethbridge having a bit more fun. Like previously, I feel like she was written a bit more kind of strict and everything. She seemed kind of a bit more of a kind of playful side in this one. She saying about how much she loved Davina, and it's usually the Doctor in the part. I like the kind of flip of it used to be the Brigadier was kind of very strict, and the Doctor was almost like the naughty schoolboy who was getting away with stuff, whereas Kate was going we might have a time window 10 floors down. It's like it was a kind of I felt like it was a twist on the relationship,
particularly like when we last saw her.
Yeah,
sorry Jack, go on.
I was saying when she goes, you told us under no uncertain circumstances we were not to investigate time travel technology. Kate, this is desperate. Drop all pretense. It's downstairs on the 18th floor.
Yeah, it was great. That was good fun. And I just Gemma Redgrave is obviously a fantastic actor, and just it's nice whenever they give her something more to do, it's always good fun. And yeah, it did feel kind of nice where you have got I don't mean this in a kind of pejorative way, but it was kind of nice where you had 3 women on the bridge and they kind of just having a little bit of a natter and stuff. It just, I don't know, it just felt nice to have that slightly different energy and stuff. And speaking of women, we see the return of Mel. I got my mini Mel here from Dapple Figures back in the day. We got Mel.
Yay, Mel.
Hello, I now work for Susan Tech.
Yeah, I thought she was really good, Mel. To say she's been one of the companions that have traditionally been seen as not a high point. I think it.
In fairness.
Yeah, well, she was true. And I think it's nice that they're giving her something to do now, and she integrated well into it. It didn't feel like a bit of a stunt cameo or anything. It actually felt like she had something to do in the plot, and it made sense that she was there. And yeah, I thought I really like when they reintroduce old companions to the current Doctor, and they forgo the whole awkward, oh, you look different, and blah, blah, blah. I like it where they just settle into a rhythm immediately, and I thought they did that really well this time.
Yeah, I mean, even in the first, when she was first in the Giggle, I believe it was, and she saw the Doctor, it was like there was a bit of a moment of that when he bi-generated, and she's going, oh, like something about no, sorry, it was Donna who said about range of colors. She said something else, but it was kind of like, oh, you're very beautiful now, and like David Tennant got to say, oh, still beautiful, and then they just moved on. So it's like I feel like they did hit that ground fairly quickly, which was nice, and yeah, because what you were saying, to tag up on what you were saying about Mel in the original, like when she was originally in the show, she was meant to be a computer programmer, and it did not come up, I think, once during her run. It's basically, you're a computer programmer, we're going to use that. Nah. It's like a kind of nice idea, this kind of buzz, a new job at the time, basically in the 80s, to be in computing.
Well, yeah,
they wanted there, but they just didn't do anything with it.
How she got back to Earth? Because once she left on Dragon Planet or something.
No, they said in the last episode, in the episode where she came back with David Tennant, they said she'd hitched a ride back after Sablon Glitz, who she went off with, died.
Of course, sorry.
So she got a ride on a Zingo, which sounds like Space Uber basically. So yeah, and Sue Triad, I thought it was kind of a fun thing they did with her, basically in bits doing a kind of little nod to Theresa May and like the little dance and everything that she did.
Yeah, that was good.
Good fun. And I'll even forgive them. It's a bit cheesy, but I'll forgive them the kind of like when they were showing all the kind of previous forms she'd been seen in, when they added in a Borg and a kind of like a White Walker from Game of Thrones. It's
on
cute.
A very obvious green screen.
Definitely, yeah.
That was definitely one of the lowest points.
I appreciate the effort to try and go, she's actually been there when we've not seen her, and that obviously ties in with where they go with the plot. But yeah, it was very much like a quick series of headshots with different makeups and whatnot, and yeah, I suppose we're on to the first anagram, which was S Triad TARDIS. That one, I think it works in context because it is meant to be really obvious and deliberate, and they sort of hang a lampshade on that by having all of UNIT go, well, of course that's what it is, Doctor. Come on,
Yeah, we've been looking into this for months.
Yeah, no, that was nice, and it's I as I say, I thought the kind of like whole thing with the character of Sue Triad was kind of fun. I love the actress; she's really great, and it's like you were saying about the effect though of the kind of green screen background, which was pretty obvious. I saw this two-parter in the cinema on Friday when it was out, and about half full, so not bad. Like considering this, basically when you show it in the cinema, probably doesn't cost that much to put on versus like how much you get back from it. So even a half full cinema is sort of probably good money for the BBC from this. And it didn't stand up too badly, I've got to say, overall, because like I remember seeing the 50th anniversary on the Day of the Doctor, and that was flawless on the big screen. That really it stood up, in fact, better than some big screen movies I've seen where the effects are ropey, especially for 10 years ago. This one, not quite as good, but to be honest with you, not bad. It didn't look too bad on the big screen. Did either of you see it on Friday?
No, didn't manage. They were not showing it at my local cinema, actually. Very naughty of them. I won't name the chain.
Yeah, and
rhymes with Dinner World.
It doesn't.
So we get the little warm up with Susan Triad. She's like, it was revealed that she's actually warming up when we're kind of tapping into the feed for her. And then, we go downstairs into the time window room, which it was kind of, again, it was kind of fun with the Doctor looking around going, it's like, oh, we've had some cowboys in here, basically. I thought that was kind of nice.
It's a little bit jarring in terms of like the immediacy of the plot when you sort of take a step back from it, because you've got the Doctor turns up, goes, whoa, stuff's going on, and then they go, well, we've got this Susan Triad thing, and Unit's most concerned about that, and the Doctor's kind of like, well, it's Nanogram TARDIS, now let me use your time portal, sort this stuff out with my companion, never mind that. You know, it all flows really well within the episode, and it all feels logical and natural. But I think it's one of them where, when you take a step back and look at it, you're like, actually, we've got two almost separate plots going on here, and it just so happens that the Doctor being in this building moves both of them forward, kind of thing. But you know, it's not a deal breaker for me. I think it's just one of them that you notice sort of second time around, or when you're not caught up in the flow of it. And this is what I think is one of the great strengths of Russell T Davies's writing, is that he can write these really propulsive finales that just drag you along for the ride, and before you catch your breath, it's finished. And then maybe afterwards you start to think, oh, actually, there are a couple of things, but you know, that's what we're here for. So,
oh yeah,
See,
I
my
mean,
thing.
yeah, sorry, go for it, Joe.
I was saying my thing. What the first half, I got really into, looking
Yep.
forward. Sutek appears. Second half, got really into, and then for the final third, I just sat there and went, "Oh, you've lost me now."
Let's save
You've just
that bit because we've got
killed
lots to
my
get
man.
through in the first
Yeah,
episode. I don't want to jump too far ahead.
mine was just the RTD thing. It's like, I
Oh god,
felt
no, I
his
agree with
writing,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, I was just about to like that bit where they go back, so they get the VHS from Ruby's mum.
mhm.
I love the bit where the Doctor just goes, it's like, come on, this is like Kate saying it's like, this is a highly secret, and he just basically waves the Sonic, and she's got like clearance to come in.
Yeah, that was
Mrs. Flood
good.
comes in to
Well, he is president of Earth.
exactly, there you go. I just thought it was nice. It was like it really kind of reminded me of when because like that's the only thing when Kate talks about the Doctor and his relationship with the Brigadier, which was lovely. And like, I love the Doctor calling him the finest of men. That was just really sweet. And I think their relationship sort of became that. But I sort of would have liked when she's remembering, goes like, he was always coming home complaining about something you'd done, but there was always a glint in his eye, because that's what their relationship used to be. It's like,
Yeah.
it was friendly. But, I mean, at one stage, the Doctor tried to ditch the Brigadier and go from the TARDIS. Like, it wasn't exactly always kind of like that jolly. I don't know. That's my beef with kind of like the way RTD does it. I'm fine with him moving the Doctor forward. I don't have a lot of the complaints some fans seem to have about kind of like a more emotional Doctor and all these things, all these changes that he's made going forward. It's when he's dealing with the past and he kind of makes the Doctor something he wasn't back then. So like when he brought Sarah Jane back and he kind of made it more of a romantic thing, like, you know, oh, he could live up to a man like you. And it's like, that was never shown in the episode. It was always kind of a best mate kind of relationship. And this felt a bit like that. But anyway, that's just a minor gripe. And yeah. And the bit where he goes, like, as soon as it's Susan as well, like it's him and Ruby going, it's like, that was the name of his granddaughter. Like, that's the only Susan in all of time and space. Not convenient.
Yeah, the Susan thing felt a bit like we were, in a way, it's kind of trolling the internet community and everything. So it's clearly there for everyone to speculate and go, oh, it's Susan,
Definitely.
Susan's his granddaughter. But then you have it very textually by having the Doctor talk about Susan more than we've ever talked about Susan before. And fair enough, it doesn't end up with the return of Susan, but I don't know, can you have a non-reveal that doesn't feel earned? Like, you know, do you know what I mean? It's like there was so many breadcrumbs planted that to not do anything with that felt a little bit like just acknowledging, yeah, we've just been stringing you along a bit with that.
I would just like them to have built it up a bit more, because we'll get onto it, but there's a few more things which I think RTD's putting out there as definitely to mess about with people, like, and what they're going to guess and stuff. We'll get to that though, because that happens a bit later. But With this one, it's like I would just like to reason why he thought it was Susan to be a bit stronger. I don't mind him thinking it's Susan and that being a red herring, but you could have revealed it that with Sutek was purposely playing games. I mean, there's a lot of things you could sort of deduce, and this is kind of like a problem I think all three of us have discussed before from the episodes of this series. It's like it's fine to leave some things open for us to guess, but I feel like there's so much you're having to fill in yourself as opposed to it being right. This is what the plot is like. It isn't. I don't want it to be a choose your own adventure almost of guessing what happened.
No.
I want it to be at least enough that that's reasonable to assume that that's what it is. Whereas like Susan, again, there was no reason for it to be Susan. There's no reason for him to have jumped on that being his granddaughter.
I think wasn't the implication that Sutek had done it on purpose to as a trap for the doctor, but like you say, the fact that it would go right, someone's called Susan and I keep seeing her, so therefore it must be my granddaughter. That's a bit of a leap, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can have one of those. Like, as you say, if it was like Sutek again, it's like, oh, you thought I was kin, and we're meant to from that deduce that he kind of purposely set up to trick the doctor. That's fine. There's like so many of those. It feels like they're not giving us any of the plot that we've got to write the plot in our heads too much. There's just too many of those bits. I felt. I don't know.
Yeah, I think to me this sort of, and this is what I felt about 73 yards. Though I do feel like they give us a bit more for that one in this, but
yes.
All the way through that episode, I was thinking, if this lands the end, this is going to be one of the all-time classics. And for me, it didn't. And I think that's the difference between Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat's writing. Stephen Moffat is really good at those twists at the end where it all falls into place and you go, wow, I see what you've done there. And I see the way you've misdirected me and made me think this. And I think Moffat is really, really good at landing those moments. And I think Russell T Davies, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of applaud in this series. What I enjoyed, on the good part of it, is that I feel like RTD watched Moffat's run of the show and has taken quite a few kind of ideas and twist ideas and things like that. I feel like he's incorporated some of that into his writing, and it's really good when he does that. But he hasn't sort of learned to land it as well, like you're saying, as well as Moffat does. It's like he's doing a Moffat, and like there was a couple of episodes where I thought it was like, is Stephen Moffat involved in this episode? It's like Dot and Bubble, I thought was kind of quite Moffat-esque, and it turns out was from an earlier idea which he had. But yeah, again, he's like you say, it's not quite as good at landing it. And we can quickly jump to kind of cover the 73 yards of it all, because I do think that was kind of nice that, it was the perception filter of the TARDIS, and that sort of, again, it's another thing which isn't completely kind of explained, but that's why the snow as well, because the TARDIS projecting with Sutek involved as well.
Yeah, it helps you fill in a little gap, the 73, that you go, right, so it's the perception filter, so she must have been stood there so that she was outside of it for some reason. So it gives you a little bit more meat on the bones of it all, which I appreciate, particularly since I had issues with the end of that episode. But yeah, I think Russell T Davies is great at delivering the emotional finales, but this felt like it deserved more of an intellectual finale, if that made sense. It feels like the mysteries it was setting up needed an intellectual explanation as well as an emotional wallop at the end.
I agree with you on
that. But anyway, yes, back to the kind of the ongoing plot. We're there in the time window room. I thought that was kind of a neat bit of tech. I'll kind of buy that they can, with their technology, tidy it up so you can see more of it. There was a line which I thought was absolutely like, I hate when they try to do American cinema lines, I'm going to call it, like, for want of a better term, when RTD puts in a line which no one talks like that outside of cinema. So there's one bit where like Harriet's going, it's like a VHS tape from 20 years ago, which has been in someone's loft, and we need to be able to see everything on it. I was born for this. And I know the born for it is signaling, because I was made for later, but no, fuck off. Sorry, that's too cutesy. That pissed me off. I don't know why. Just little lines like that. It's like, it's sort of almost like I don't want Doctor Who to lose its kind of nerdiness. I don't mind the tech being really good, but when it comes to the lines of it, I want it to feel a bit more like a British drama. Like, I love those American flavors. I love kind of like, me and Jim speak weekly about Star Trek because we love it. And that's kind of, that's got that American big ambitious feel to it. And I love it for it, but why not let Doctor Who be Doctor Who? It doesn't have to.
You want to reverse
thing.
the polarity of the neutron flow rather than talk about the 20-year-old VHSs.
I don't even mind 20-year VHS, but don't give me like I was born to do this line. It's just, it's not. I don't know.
Han.
Anyway, it is very.
Don't give me the Han.
Yeah, exactly. I'm good with the cheese. So they've got the projection. It starts going haywire and kind of projecting on its own. Again, I'm going to give a shout out to my boy Lenny there as the new scientific advisor. Apparently, when they had the, I'm jumping a little bit, but when they had the Sutek reveal, I saw a little behind the scenes thing where he didn't realize the voice was going to be projected in. So his reaction of like jumping out of skin is very genuine. And he was saying, it's like, lucky that was called for by the scene, so it must have looked great because I was scared. Because obviously they don't have the CGI effect, but he didn't realize they were going to boom the voice in. Yeah, thoughts of the projection room, guys?
I thought that was a great sequence. It looked really impressive the way they sort of played with the idea of it being an old grainy sort of thing, but it was also very advanced. And I thought maybe the music was a little bit overkill. But it did create a really tense scene, particularly as it was intercutting with what else was going on, and it perhaps created more tension really than the scene actually deserved, but that's great. That's what you can do with TV, is you can really ramp it up and get the excitement going. So yeah, I thought the whole sequence was really, really effective.
Did they ever explain in it why it looks different?
Almost certainly not. Why it looks different to
the Doctor? He said it's like he keeps on seeing it, like he was seeing it differently in other episodes, and it keeps on changing around the event.
No. It's another one of those things that they kind of hand waved off, I think, because we imagined it to be a mystery, so it became a mystery. So
yeah, I mean, it sort of feels like
I actually like that idea, but I'm sure we'll get onto that later on when we get to the.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice. We'll get to that, as you say. But yeah, it was just the fact that I mean, I don't know why time's changing around that event. It never really gets explored, and I don't think it really gets even explained.
No,
they building up importance.
They sort of try and go, well, he went there and then he couldn't go back, and now he's looking at it through a time window rather than. So technically, he's looking at it from different ways, but yeah, there wasn't anything that really explained where all the mystery was coming from.
And the thing is, you could see a snowflake at 100 yards. You could see the clock on the tower. You could see everything, and then at the end they just kind of go, we managed to clean up the image, and that's when we found there was a signpost behind you all along. So no, you could see everything. Every single item was visible, and suddenly you went, actually there's a signpost on a lamp behind you, and that's what they were pointing at all along. It's like,
that was iffy.
Yeah, I mean, the street sign thing, I didn't really. And okay, so from this bit where she's pointing at the street sign, it names Ruby, but she didn't meet anyone to tell her. So was it coincidence that the ambulance drivers then also came up with that? Because she said, yeah, that's it then.
Yes.
I'm assuming because the Doctor was there that she's meant to be pointing it to the Doctor.
But she doesn't know
But yeah, the doctor says she wasn't pointing at me because the doctor wasn't there when it happened the first time. He was only there the time it was observing. So
No, but
the
he did go
explanation.
there the first time.
I did.
No,
You're
but he'd
right.
already
Yeah,
gone in the TARDIS, and he'd gone back in the TARDIS by that stage. I'm confused. I've lost
No,
track now.
because she walked past, turned around, pointed at him, which shocked
Oh yeah,
me.
yes.
And then it's like, yeah, it's become less timey-wimey and more nonsensical at this point.
Yeah. I honestly,
the
I can't make that make sense.
The explanation they give in the show is, well, she was pointing at the sign, and that was her naming Ruby. But like you say, no one was there to observe that. So, do you know what? Write a note. Like, I'm abandoning this child, but I would like her to be called Ruby, please.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not an ancient force of evil, just in case in a few years anyone happens to think that I might be. P.S. I'm
Yeah.
also not the doctor's granddaughter.
Yeah, and we
PPS,
also,
I found this monk's robe at the side of the road as I was walking here.
That's
say,
my big
why?
issue.
Why? Where's
I
she
didn't
come
have
from?
this as a 15-year-old living in Leeds.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah,
and she's
that
15-year-old. I mean, maybe she got it from a Lord of the Rings cosplay or something. I don't know. Look, we could try and headcanon something, but
and that's what bugs me most about this reveal is like, we'll get to the reveal and how we all feel about it, but if they've deliberately set it up to be a mystery and used all the signifiers of a mystery, we'll have a mysterious cloak, we'll have them point in a mysterious way, and it's like, you can't have all them things if the answer is what the answer we're given is, because it just doesn't make sense.
And they also have to have a reason why she's pointing to the street sign, because she doesn't know. Like, why does she see a guy there point at a street sign, not go, "Hey, her name's Ruby, by the way," just in case you're wondering.
That's it. It doesn't
Can
make
you let
any
people know?
sense. And so
I'm
if she
off now, I'm
can't
only
see the
15.
doctor, it's weird enough. If she can't see the doctor because of timey-wimey or whatever, then it's just pointing at a street. So like, did she walk away and go, "Ooh, that told them"? Like, told who? There's nobody there.
And B-Man, who's watching, has agreed with you, Jim. Didn't leave a note with a baby. No,
Didn't leave a note.
If you're watching, please do leave a comment. Anyone else? Everyone welcome. Yeah, just as long as we all agree that does make a lick of sense, because I couldn't think of anything which made any of that make sense afterwards. Unless Sutek's beaming. No, there's nothing.
No. It's intentionally put there to make the viewer think it's a mystery. And that's not playing fair with the audience, I don't think.
No.
Anyway.
No. Then the doctor said on. Oh, sorry, mate.
I said on a chat with someone recently, said he's not even making red herrings, it's just a pile of fish. And that's all it stinks of. You just like, it's crap.
Oh, it just makes me think of the Douglas Adams book they released after his death, with all kind of like the writings that they had uncovered of his, like, it's basically an anthology. It was called The Salmon of Doubt. So this is our Salmon of Doubt in Doctor Who. Which, for those who know Douglas Adams, lots of links to Doctor Who, but we won't get into that right now.
Indeed.
Yeah, so we get McCunky goes behind the TARDIS and gets turned into sand. Not quite sure why the Doctor couldn't go himself, but yeah, just send that guy. Was a nice. I do like the moment where kind of like Kate then just basically gives him the biggest fuck you look that you're ever going to see. That was very nice, I thought. Like, I told you not to send him back there. He just doesn't listen, that boy.
It's good that she can get annoyed with the Doctor at times, because he does just waltz in and go, "Never mind about that Susan Twist thing, let me go do this. Oh, one of your men's dead."
Yeah.
And you two looked a little close, so sorry.
And the next scene, we get the Doctor kind of. Well, this is one I wanted to bring up with you, Jack, because I know you've had some issues with kind of how emotional the Doctor is, or how it's kind of in every episode. I know you're not against the idea, just before anyone gets the wrong impression. Something RTD spoke about this week, because in this scene he goes out, he kind of kicks or punches an elevator, and then kind of sits on the floor, very despondent. RTD's kind of addressed this. He said that it's like there's. He wanted it to be, because there's kind of not been enough kind of talk around mental health and people being able to, like, especially men being able to talk about their feelings in the past. He wanted to inject it into this. I'd probably slightly do. I understand where you're coming from. I do think maybe in some episodes they could have removed it. Probably in this episode, it's used very well. I think it is. I mean, I didn't bump into it myself, but Jack,
in these episodes, works great because it's a good emotional build-up, and then he wants to vent everything out, and it's like, the problem I've had with it is if it's in every episode, it dilutes the whole thing. It's like, that's why David Tennant were great, because he had this, you could feel it just from his acting that he's crying inside. It's breaking him for this to happen. And then when he finally sheds a tear, Jesus, it's got bad. Or when he screams, when he has his hissy fit about Wilf being stuck in the box, and he's going to have to release him and kill himself, and he has his breakdown, and now you're an old man. Yeah, you've lived an old man. And you sit there and you break with him. Whereas because this Doctor has spent over half of his episodes crying, usually not at much, you kind of don't feel that, you know what, I'm going to join you in a bit of a teary moment right now because we've earned this moment of reflection. That's my big thing.
You see, for me, it's for interesting like that. That's a completely fair take, but I felt sometimes David Tennant got too whiny with it. Like there were some moments where he was like, he went through when he was kind of dying. There was, I don't know. I would have cut a little bit of that myself, but there we go. I actually quite like the fact this Doctor is like, he gets emotional, he kind of lets it out, but then it's like he moves on again. It's like, it's almost like he is processing his emotions, like much to the kind of idea of the bi-generation to, he can let his feelings as he's gone without building up in the kind of same way, I guess. Jim, your thoughts on the emotionality?
Yeah, two things on that. Like the crying, I can take it or leave it. I think I'm more sort of leaning towards Jack that it loses some of the oomph if he's crying most episodes.
Yeah,
but the smashing the locker, and in the next episode where he screams out into the time vortex, I'm on one hand I'm really enjoying that take on the Doctor. It's an almost sort of petulant, like, I'm the Doctor, why can't I fix this? And it's just frustration over it. So on the one hand, I really like that as characterization. What I think maybe it's too soon for this Doctor to get there, because the whole thing with the bi-generation was all of it's lifted, all the ennui and all the anger and all the guilt and all that, everything, that's all gone, and you can now be the fun Doctor who can enjoy the life. And I feel like, 8 episodes later, we've got him where Tennant was in Waters of Mars, and it's like, whoa, that's giving me a bit of whiplash, to say this was meant to be the new Doctor who's unburdened by it all, and we seem to have burdened him very quickly, which I think's maybe a bit of a shame. I would have liked a bit more of fun Doctor.
Well, I don't know. You see, my take on that was that he's kind of letting out as he goes. So he is having these. I mean, again, I do agree. You could cut it from a few episodes, cut it a little less so that it's more impactful when it does happen. But I felt like he was processing as he goes. So he does have these huge, like when he was screaming out the TARDIS, I thought it was a really powerful moment for me. But
yeah, it was.
But yeah, I mean, like to your point, probably cutting a few of the other scenes would help that. And also, as much as I do want to, show young men, especially, and any young person, that it's okay to feel your emotions, it's okay to let them show. I think there is something to actually sometimes holding back your emotions. You've got to be able to function in a moment.
Yeah,
sometimes
especially
it's not about repressing your emotions, but sometimes in that moment you have to act as opposed to getting emotional.
Keep it together to keep moving.
Yeah. especially when you've got him like punching things. It's like that. If that's what Russell T Davies is going for, I'm not sure showing young male viewers that getting angry about something and smashing things up is the best approach. You know that. You don't want a kid going into school next day and punching all the lockers and going, "Hey, Doctor O."
Hey,
The
and
Doctor did
you
it. I can
dialed
do
up
it
the
too.
northern voice for that. I didn't. Hey, Doctor Who, mad for it, smash it up. You walked into that
Exactly.
stereotype, not me.
Well,
It's all
he is a Scottish Doctor. You know, bar fights are
There you
very
go.
common.
Yeah. No, but I did think your point. Actually, I thought about the conversation we sort of had in our little group chat we've got earlier, because we were talking about like you have to reflect the times you're in, but also it can be kind of like show the world you want to see, and media can influence. It's interesting, that kind of back and forth. So yeah, I mean, like you say, it's like we have to be very careful when we are showing these really positive things and we are showing people to be emotional. That's great, but do you want everyone to be histrionic all the time? Is there something about having some restraint to your emotions as well? So yeah, I think it can go either way, and it's like that's why I kind of did enjoy the Moffat episode Boom, where it did feel like you had that emotionality, but the Doctor wasn't. I mean, I suppose he couldn't be over dramatic because he was stuck in place.
I think this conversation sort of speaks to the truncated run of the series as well, because we've not had a lot of downtime with the Doctor for him to reflect on these things and for us to get to know his personality a huge amount. So yeah, we it's had to move quickly because we've had a reduced episode count, and we've not had time to reflect on these things. And I think, yeah, maybe that wouldn't go amiss. But
yeah. So we're getting towards the end of that episode. So basically, Doctor meets Susan Triad. They do have that kind of nice moment where she kind of starts to remember. That moment I did still love, even though the kind of reasons for him thinking it's Susan aren't that clear. I do love the kind of like intense moments, like it's got to be like, please let it be you. And I thought he portrayed that very well. But pretty much then we're into the Sutek reveal. Although when she started reading the auto cue and it goes, "I am death, I am the night," it's like, is Batman in it? That's the only thing I can think of. I am vengeance, I am the night. Right, maybe don't go for quite anyway, recognizable lines from other things, but and they talk about the gods. I did actually have this. I did notice all the people saying about Sutek originally being from an alien race, which is just very powerful, and they've sort of taken the Egyptian mythology came from then. I'm trying to remember. I did watch this the other night.
The Osirans.
Yeah,
which is
but
where Osiris came from.
But I'm trying to remember if it was meant to be that they nicked the Egyptian persona or they gave the Egyptian persona. I think it was they gave the persona to the Egyptians was the thing. But in that, for anyone who's going, it's like, oh, but the Doctor's calling him God and everything. It's like, yeah, but I first of all go back to that quote of like any technology sufficiently advanced will be indistinguishable from magic. It's like, yeah, okay, like if you watch back the Pyramids of Mars, the Doctor does talk about Sutek and refer to him as a god in the dialogue. So it's not new him doing this. And it's just, to me, it's just a different way to get to the same place. You either give the Doctor extra lines to go, it's like, aha, he may seem like a god, but actually he's got all this technology, or if he just says he's a god. It's the same thing. Like we can assume in our heads the Doctor knows he's not literally a god, he's just very powerful. Like the Doctor appears like a god to some people. I think that's all that is. So yeah. And there is a bit of a tweaking with the kind of story, because it does though accept that the Sutek's part of a pantheon of gods, which was never sort of mentioned previously. It's a bit of a kind of, there was a slight bit of toying, but I don't think it was too
it's it's one of them where he's decided, I want to do gods. Let me have a look through the back catalogue. I've got the toy maker. I've got Sutek. Bring them in and fit him in. It's a bit like, even though it's done better, it's a bit like in that Spectre Bond film where they go, oh, actually, they were all part of this Spectre thing and we just didn't know because we didn't have the rights to Spectre until we made this film. But never mind, they were all in, and it's kind of like, I have no problem with that. whatsoever. It's pulling threads from the history of it and making it into something new. So if it slightly fudges a little bit of dialogue from 40 years ago, I can live with it.
My feelings exactly. So yeah, we do get the CTEC reveal. We get the anagram, which makes bullshit sense, but we already covered that.
Yeah, that's silly.
You can't just change a letter. You can't just move on. Anyway. Not that I had strong feelings about
Oh, but no, you've got it wrong. It's Sue Tech, but spelt different. Like, all
I wouldn't
right.
even mind. I wouldn't mind if they just go. It's like Sutek, like Sutek. If they didn't correct the spelling, they just had it as like Sutek was your clue.
Oh, you know what? If you're gonna do something as daft as this, you should just go all out and just go. Wait a minute.
Brian.
It's Susan Technology Daleks.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just leave it like that and just go, yeah.
I thought. So the voice, of course, is the original voice, Gabriel Wolf, who was fantastic. Still, if anything, I watched back the original and he sounds amazing in that. But I always think just where male voices get more gravelly as you get older, I just think it's just a baddie becomes more bad. like the gravelly voice.
Right, he's 91.
91, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they've definitely done some of the post-processing on his voice, though, because it had a youthfulness that you can't fake, like with James Earl Jones. It's in some of the new Vader stuff, they use his voice, but AI adjust it back.
No! Now they're actually whole cloth making his voice. He doesn't do the performances anymore.
It was, I think, Rogue One. I think they started de-aging his voice.
Yeah, but I mean, now they don't
for
even.
the new one, they don't use it at all.
Yeah, it's just a computer program.
It's like I know it's a different show, but if you watch X-Men '97, like they've brought a lot of the old voices back, and notably, some of them sound a bit older. Some of them are doing a good approximation of what they sounded like, and then Rogue sounds very much older than she was. Which is understandable. It's 20 odd years, 30 years.
I mean, I'll also give you, if you look at the pictures of Gabriel Wolf, though, he looks bloody good for 91. Like, I would have thought 70s at best. So, like, maybe he's just got magic voice as well as his appearance seemed very
because he's been hanging on the side of the TARDIS since Pyramids of Mars. So.
But I thought it was very nicely done. It didn't sound like I would have been disappointed if it sounded too modulated or if they'd done a big booming voice effect on it. That would have seemed cheesy.
Brian?
It did seem ostensibly his voice at the heart of it. I thought the redesign on Sutek was good as well. I didn't think it. Some people complained, but I mean, I will buy that being in the tiny space vortex for up to years might change you a little bit. That seems reasonable.
I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, it was a good, very reminiscent of the Egyptian mythology, and fine. Can I just say though, on the very end of the episode, it does the to be continued, and then there's no preview for next week. And the only time they've done it like that previously was the one where Tennant got zapped by the Dalek and he went, "I'm regenerating," and they did that. And because the newspapers had recently reported that Tennant was leaving, it was a huge cliffhanger because you were like, "Oh, maybe he actually is gone," and it worked, and it felt like they were trying to replicate that with this. But this as a cliffhanger is not as good as that one was. And so to me, it just felt like, you're trying to get me as invested as I was in that one, and it ain't going to work. I'd have preferred just the normal way they do it, just, to be continued on screen. That'd have been fine. It felt like it was trying to make it more than it was.
It's definitely very RTD to have like to be continued. You know, he likes these
Yeah,
moments.
but he's only done it the once before on what I would argue was his best cliffhanger. So this just felt a bit, oh, let's try that again. Like, no, don't.
Yeah, fair play, fair play. And yeah, so Sutek's been hanging about or hanging off the side of the TARDIS all the time. This doesn't I mean, like while we're talking about things which they've kind of altered, like most of the tweaks I don't mind too much of how they made this story fit. And like you say, a few kind of like leaps of faith that Sutex was always in the pantheon of gods, but we didn't know. That's fine. I don't mind that. But the fact that in the original episode, he traps him in. I know it is in the vortex, but it's like a time corridor within the vortex, which is a sort of like enclosed thing. So when the Doctor leaves in the TARDIS, I don't know. I can't quite square that circle of how he got hooked onto the TARDIS.
And the fact that it's been there ever since Pyramids of Mars. So when they went to, what was it called? That other dimension? Was it End Space or something? And when they went there, and there was the Black Guardian, and the Black Guardian was trying to track the TARDIS down. Sutek could have gone, "Oi, Black Guardian's here," and you know, it's one of them that the more you think about it, the more
it unravels.
And things like what. I'm sure things have happened to the TARDIS.
No, I can give you one.
TARDISes?
Well, that's right. Two things there, just quickly.
One is Sutek on the other TARDIS.
Right. I sort of just quickly the one which makes the least sense is they went to the end of the world where literally mankind, like everything was almost dead. If that's all Sutek wanted, he could have just gone, brilliant, job done. I'll just get rid of these people at Utopia, and I'm set. You know, that's everything he ever wanted.
There's only 3,000 people on this planet, a bit of dust, and we're done. Happy days.
Yeah. I'll stay here, Doctor. Thank you. Just leaves him a note like, cheers, footlift.
And by the way, her name's
so
Ruby.
Long, and thanks for all the time vortex.
And by the way, her name's Ruby. This will make sense later.
Yeah. She's not pointing at you.
With the duplicated TARDISes, I sort of figured out, it was only on the rewatch, I figured out something that RTD had said in, like, you know, when they do the little interview things where he's going, it's like, right, the finale, let me tell you about how exciting it's going to be. And he said, it's like, and there'll be something in it which proves that, actually, it might have been an interview, he said this, there's something in there that proves that Ncuti's TARDIS is the original. And I assume that's what he's referring to, is the fact that when the TARDIS splits, he had the Sutek. I'm guessing it, like, again, even in interviews, he says stuff which I have to headcanon myself because he doesn't explain it on screen.
Well,
I mean,
as well. So he goes back to the time window in a complete to get into the memory TARDIS.
Yes, I was going to get in the memory TARDIS.
I know we're getting there, but
yeah.
There's another perfectly functional TARDIS in London in Donna Noble's back garden.
This is the problem with Bi-Generation. Yeah, I mean, I'm not by far the first one to mention this, but a lot of people have been saying it's like the problem with Bi-Generation and having two TARDISes is why is there never a moment when the Doctor, even through retirement, is like, no, the universe is about to end. I don't get to retire right now. Anything
He's
like
I could taking Rose on day trips out in the TARDIS.
It's kind of like kind of like what happened with the Marvel films after they did the Avengers, where you get to the first Iron Man film and you're like, why don't you get to the next Iron Man film after the Avengers, and you go, why don't you just give the Avengers a call? Like, no, this says Iron Man, so it's just me.
This is an American problem, not an international problem.
You're right.
I mean,
isn't one of your mates called Captain America? Would he not be?
I mean, they do sort of tokenistically nod to it in those movies, at least, where they go, it's like, Thor's off-world and Captain America's...
Yeah.
At least they give you some... But to your point, they've set up something where they have to explain it every time. And, like, in this one, they just don't bother. They just go, he's just not here. Meh.
I mean, could they say that the other Doctor and Donna and everyone had been dusted, going back to the Marvel films again when it has the Infinity War moment. But then how do they escape it on like a Lambretta and manage to double back and come back? And they're the only ones who don't get
Well, actually,
dusted.
you know what? There is something in the dialogue. I will give them that. They
Is there?
did say,
Good.
no, they did say genuinely, and this isn't a setup for a joke. They did say that Sutek kept him and Ruby alive because of the mystery of her
did.
mum,
You're
which there
right.
isn't that mystery with the other Doctor. Okay, we can give them that one. That one actually,
There we
it's
go.
in there. And Mel was riding, so if he got rid of him, then the Doctor would have got scraped up getting off the
Yeah.
Lambrini. Lambretta? Lambrini's the wine, isn't it? Yeah.
Lambrini's the wine.
He wasn't
Job
riding a
wine.
bottle of sparkling wine for no good reason. So yeah, memory TARDIS. Yeah, I mean, this was kind of fun. I did like the fact that, so we get to bring in the fact that so Tales from the TARDIS also released Prudence and Mars in that format. We had some very, very brief kind of nothing scenes with the Doctor and Ruby, but now we see the episode, they kind of do make sense, and it does, because they didn't make any kind of explanation of why they're in the memory TARDIS, which I was like, I hope this is explained as it turned out to be in the episode, and not being
I really liked
that.
Yeah, I liked that after watching the episode, you could place that bit and go, that's exactly when they have that conversation from Tales of the TARDIS. I enjoyed that a lot. I thought that was very cleverly done.
Yeah, I love the fact that Tales from the TARDIS is now like, RTD said it was canon, and now we really see how it's canon, why it's kind of like, because I thought it was just a weird thing to say, because someone asked him, which I thought was a weird question, like someone asked him online, which I thought was just the fans will ask every question, whether it's germane or not. Like every question will be asked by one fan or another. But when the RTD went out of his way to say, yes, it's all canon now, it's like, okay, well, why are you saying that? Like, it's felt like he was setting something up, and I'm really good. And I loved seeing the memory TARDIS actually in Who Proper. I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah, that was cool. And all the props and everything that were lying around in it were great. And I'm sure you could freeze frame it and try and pick everything out. Great.
Yeah, the drawer full of Doctor's screwdrivers.
Yeah.
And then it had, I think it was Tennant's, no, not Tennant's, Matt Smith's Sonic was in the console, like plugged in.
Yeah.
And sorry about the Willow going nuts in the background. We also had the I did like when Mel kind of cozied up to the coat and the scarf from the Sixth Doctor. That was kind of a nice moment for her as well.
Yeah.
And apparently, even though it seems like a smaller TARDIS, this version that we get, it's got a couple of nice knitwear jumpers for the Doctor and Ruby to whack on. Not sure what that was about, but there we go. So yes, they go off in the Remember TARDIS, and they're just lovely to see on screen. And so now the Doctor starts going through the different planets, and he does, as I say, that scream kind of out the TARDIS. Like, if there was ever an appropriate moment for emotion, it is when the whole universe has been wiped out. I'll give him that. And it's kind of nice to have the two companions either side of him supporting him. I just thought it was a nice little sweet moment. And then we get to the planet of the woman who's forgotten everything and the spoon.
I thought that was a great sequence. It was a lot quieter and more reflective than I was expecting in this episode. I was expecting just endless bombast, and we do get a lot of that in the episode, but I loved that it took the time to have this scene that let it sink in. And it's sort of, I got the impression like some time had passed and that the Doctor had been wandering from place to place. And this great performance by the woman in the scene, and there's this sort of wistful quality to it. And she realizes she's forgotten that she had a child. And I thought this was great. This really sold the emotional sort of impact of it all, I think, much better than just saying, oh, everybody in the universe is dead. I thought that this actually kind of hammered it home. And yeah, I thought because I read that Russell T Davies gave an interview where he said that it was either cut this scene or cut an action scene, and he decided to cut the action scene and leave this one in, which
Good.
I'm really glad he did, because I think it added a lot to the episode.
And it was
It confused the life out of me though why is there no metal?
Yeah,
That was not
It's
ever
been turned to
hinted
sand.
at, explained.
It's been all
it
turned
was
to sand.
sort of, we need something tangible, which has to be metal.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of fun when they did have the only thing I did want to add to this scene, like, which, as you say, pretty damn perfect. You got the lady who was Phoebe Waller-Bridge's sister in Fleabag. She's absolutely wonderful. She was also in that dramatization of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire saga with the
Oh
coffee.
yeah,
She played his wife in that. Really great actress.
that's where I've seen it.
The only thing I needed though was when they had the spoon. It's like, I'm the doctor and this is my spoon. I just want that line in there somewhere. They couldn't have just thrown that in there for me. Bit of Capaldi in there. No. All right, just me then. Yeah, exactly.
Or you could have had the Matrix line like, there is no spoon.
Yeah, but
But
even
there was
look
a
like
spoon,
the spoon
so
that
that wouldn't have
Capaldi's
worked.
got, which he appears from nowhere and licks
Yeah.
butter off.
Yeah, it wasn't clear why there was no metal and why
No.
it had to be metal. Like he says, or something tangible. Well, couldn't you have stuck the baby's crib in there? Wouldn't that have worked? Like, yeah, you're right. It's another one, but apart from the complete,
suitable.
yeah, okay. Apart from the complete lack of logic or plotting, I thought that scene was excellent.
What have the Romans ever
Yeah.
done for us?
I think we all agree though it was an absolutely beautiful scene, but yeah, and we also get them traveling to the. So I might lose the chronology of what happens when in this bit, but we do go to the future with Roger App Williams. If I'm it's Roger App Williams,
Roger
like
Ab Gwilym.
Willem. I kind of like the fact that she kind of half remembers him, half like, you know, there's something you can tell that she's kind of remembering. And some people have said that it's like, oh, it doesn't make any sense that they're going to the future, whereas if mankind was wiped out. But I sort of always got the feeling it was kind of one of these things of like, in every time all of mankind is wiped out in that instant. Like
that's kind of what he said. Wherever he landed, whatever time, it like seeded at that moment. So there's like 1,000 Sues of caused the extinction of Earth on 1,000 timelines.
I think they do give a line dialogue to that, like he says something about the moment that a land is always time locked or something. So
there you go, because they mentioned 3 dates.
Yeah, he can go back to the bit that he landed at, and it from 73 yards we were told that he has been to this Prime Minister's time. But, and this is me with my issues with 73 yards, which I think is 3/4 of a brilliant episode. So the whole thing of that was Ruby did this whole timeline and stopped this happening, but now it's happening anyway.
No, she didn't stop it happening. He had already been a health minister. He'd already been in the government.
He'd been a health minister, yeah, but he didn't become prime minister.
I know, but the doctor says
about the exact line though. His policies caused this, or something about as prime minister he caused this, and you're like, well, actually, he never really made.
Did they say?
But then did he? Because they restarted the loop again, so they prevented the circle being broken, so Ruby wouldn't have stopped him.
So he does happen. She just has this memory of a time, a sort of half memory of a time that
an alternate timeline where it didn't happen.
The prime minister, and the doctor does say in dialogue that he was there as its downfall. So it's even kind of covered that he gets stopped eventually anyway. But I think that episode was all about the Ruby being where she needed to be to sort of learn some of this stuff as well. I think that was kind of partly baked into the sort of gods of it all. You know, the superstition. It's like I think she was always meant to learn that to have it for this moment as well as part of the thing.
I think it'd be really I'll go with that. If it was biometric, a biometric deadlock.
Yeah.
And she just happens to put a hand on the keyboard and it unlocked and said, Ruby Sunday. Authorization, accepted. How come you can unlock App Williams's PC? What's going on here?
Yeah,
that would be
but then
good.
you're putting out, the only problem there is you're putting out She Leather, which you've then got to kind of either jump over or put an exclamation.
I feel like he's coming back and he's going to be a big
I
villain.
think so. And I think it would be
Yeah.
great. I think it would be really great to actually then
Yeah.
see him as Prime Minister and how the Doctor was there. Like they've already established things capping out of order, so you know, I like the idea. Like they did with one which we haven't mentioned is Susan is the Doctor's granddaughter. We don't know who the parents are. I love that. I thought it didn't tread on ruining the mystery of Susan because they don't reveal who her parents were in the end. But yeah, it kept it a mystery, but it kind of explains why we've never seen her parents, because I don't mind the mystery, but it is kind of a bit wacky that we never have any explanation of her parents or any suggestion of why we don't see them. I thought it was nice. A nice way of doing it whilst preserving the mystery.
Yeah.
Although there's then the thing of the Doctor's dying on Trenzalore.
Yep.
Is ancient. He knows he's literally about to die. And not once does he just say, I always wish I knew who my children were to my granddaughter. It's like pertinent, isn't it? I couldn't have had children to my granddaughter. I'm about to die.
I'm sorry, Jack, but he was kind of busy. Some of the great intelligence, which turns out is a previous version of him, which also not explained yet. Yeah, actually,
and also, he didn't know at the time that he had infinite lives because he's the timeless child. He thought he was on his last life at that point.
So he knows he's not had children.
I want that appearance of this is nothing to do with these episodes. It's because I was hoping that somewhere along the way we were going to get explained why we saw Richard E. Grant in there, because like there's competing theories. Obviously he was in the Curse of Fatal Death, which was the comic relief sketch, which I think we can dismiss as just being a sketch. Anyone is suggesting that, I'm sorry, but I would be so angry if they made that. I love that sketch. It is great.
No, that does
so
make
funny,
it,
but it's a sketch. There's a
that
Scream of the
does make
Shelter
EastEnders canon in the Doctor Who universe. So if Phil Mitchell can turn up, I'm happy with that.
You've also got the
Scream
of version,
yeah,
which was the alternate version of the Eighth Doctor, which we've already like when he sees the Doctors, it's all versions from this go round of the universe, basically. So I don't think that kind of fits. So I think that is going to go into the next series. We're going to like. There has to be a reason why he was there. You can't just shove in an extra face.
Yeah, one of the lost Doctors or something. If they really want to put the cat among the pigeons, put Peter Cushing in the next time they do it, and then that'll whoa.
I mean, I feel like they are sort of ruining the magic of the Doctor. Like, I know we're up to 15 Doctors now, which is quite a few, but it's like if just anyone's the Doctor, it's like, why is it special to be the Doctor? You know, if you can just every series you go, it's like, actually, here's another one you didn't know about. Here's not like when they originally did it with Sir John Hurt, like one of the best actors of our generation, if not like of all time. Like, you know, having him in there and having it once doing that meant something. Now I'm getting a bit fatigued. Like I already, when Joe Martin was revealed, I was like, oh, okay. Like what? Like we did a series or two ago. All right. It didn't have the same impact.
Diminishing returns and
yeah, I feel like
he just wants his own version of what's the one where the Doctor has his mind probed and it showed you all the production staff as previous Doctors.
Brendan Morbius.
Prince Morbius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think he's just like, I want my own version where I can just throw things in and people will talk about it for 10 years and then it'll kind of get referenced, or maybe not, I'll just leave it.
But anyway, back to this episode. Sorry, that was me going off on that tangent. But the Doctor screams out in space and he says 3 years he throws out, which again, if you really think about it, does make any sense because he's been to every year. So really he'd be going year 1, year 2, year 3, whereas he goes like 1066, 1963, the start of Doctor Who, and of course 2005, the reboot of Doctor Who. It was cute. I will allow them that flight of fancy. I'm not against whimsy. It's just there's a lot of whimsical moments which don't get explained. But that one I thought worked well. We go and grab the spoon. We jerry rig some magic ropes around, which I guess he got from the Goblin King. He got that idea of using rope as a language.
Yeah.
And the Doctor sort of basically
impossible rope or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on the same
Same as the
technology
glove.
as the gloves.
which I think is also a name of a Penn Teller trick, the impossible ropes.
Yeah.
Whip the right out of the TARDIS, lasso Sutek, take him through the vortex. I mean, this is the bit which really stung me. I'm like, so the way of defeating the god of death is to take him through death, which he himself created, and double death means life. What?
Double
If you
negative.
This is my
if you
weakest
death
moment of the
if you death,
episode.
that's life.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even mind if the solution was killing him and thus it undid the spell somehow.
It's like, you
Like,
know, when you do sums, if you have two minuses, that's a plus, and a plus plus is a plus, but a minus plus is a minus, and a plus minus is a minus.
See, now you say it like that, I feel
So
silly for rejecting.
death is life.
Yeah, that
Life,
just,
Also, did you not realise they put a dog
would be
on a
death.
lead and dragged it behind the TARDIS? How many kids have-
Exactly.
yeah, I just
That's another one that you're going to get kids doing at school. They're going to be like driving to school with a dog
Accidentally kills
chained
a
behind
hamster,
them,
so-
and they're going to go, Doctor Who, innit?
I'm glad Willow's not in the room right now. Quite frankly, with all
It's
this
not
talk.
me, it's Doctor
Just
Who's
think
fault.
about it, Squeak. You know,
Um,
someone's pet bulldog, Crusher, accidentally kills his hamster Milo, and they go, you know what? On way to school, I'm going to put his lead on back.
just no, Jack,
Yeah,
stop
he'll
it.
drive him
I can-
round.
And it'll bring the hamster
and
back to life.
That'll
talk
death
about
him.
I can talk about any number of humans dying, but when it gets to dogs, I don't want to hear
I didn't say we're going to die.
Again,
no,
it's
but it's
one
been
of
dragged.
them.
It's dog cruelty. Kill off the humans, that's fine, but dogs, come on, leave them be.
It's one of
Blame
them that you've
RTD.
either got to go with it or not, isn't it? It's the explanation given is if you bring death to death, it creates life. And in this new, more fantasy leaning version of Doctor Who, we just kind of have to accept that that works. Again, for my particular, for what I go to Doctor Who for, I would have liked a more sci-fi explanation than fantasy, but
Even fancy just
Dragging
seems.
doggy death behind the TARDIS and his toes cut into the time vortex.
I mean, with
Yeah.
Buffy, we do fantasy, but there's always a logic within the like. It's like I've said umpteen times this series. It's fine. I don't mind going down the fantasy route, but even fantasy and kind of myths have their rules to them. You need an explanation at the end of how that works within the logic of that fantasy. There's not like death brings death to death is all we get here. It just lost me. I mean,
he says it
funny.
many times and with increasing volume. So
oh yeah, good point. Again, I feel like a fool when you explain it like this. But
I sort of bought it for some reason that I went with that. I was conscious of the fact that I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make sense, but I think I was invested enough that I was like, this is the new rules of the Doctor Who universe. That works. What a rule that, and this was a rule that Russell T Davies himself established back in his original run. And people can change and their opinions can change, but it's in the Writer's Tale, the book that he released, where it was sort of a lot of his behind the scenes musings and blah blah blah. And there was a bit in that where someone wrote a script and they had the Doctor remotely summoned the TARDIS to him, and Russell T Davies said, "No, you absolutely cannot do that because it solves too many problems and it makes things too easy. And now we can summon the TARDIS with a whistle, and I was just surprised that he broke his own rule there. Now, I'm not saying, look, you said it in a book 15 years ago, you must stick to it forever. I was just a little bit surprised, and it does create problems because it's like, right, well, he can make the TARDIS do whatever he wants remotely now, which, the next time they're stuck somewhere and they can't get to the TARDIS, why don't you just...
Well, it's the same thing as like when the other like Jack said, when even though we've kind of logic that the other Doctor and Donna were dusted away with everyone else, the other TARDIS is still there. There's certain things which it's unless
And
he dusted the TARDIS somehow. I don't know.
Is Tennant's TARDIS? Does it hear that whistle and like, oh shit, better get going? And Tennant's like, oh, come back, TARDIS. Like, no.
No, the TARDISes can hear the difference in the whistles. They've got different.
Right, okay. Yeah, like, oh no, that's for original TARDIS. That's for Sutek TARDIS.
With the TARDIS is reacting so badly as well. It says TARDIS has felt this before, and there's that growling noise. Surely the other TARDIS, when it didn't have Sutek attached, just kind of went, oh.
I had that bloody ring in my ear. I thought I had tinnitus.
Yeah, that's been bothering me for years, as that. Yeah.
Like I've had really bad indigestion and someone's given me a Rennie.
Someone keeps asking me if I can come up with any really poor anagrams, and I'm just sick of it.
The funniest bit for me was
through the vortex. I don't spin as much off axis anymore.
The funniest bit for me was I was sat in the seats I booked in the first episode. Then we went out for the 10-minute interval they had, and I happened to bump into some friends, so I went up and joined them in their seats. And it was so funny. It was one of the guys I knew, and it was a friend of his. And like we were sat in three of us, and his mate was just like, and I'm not having a go because like if people enjoy something, please do. Like it doesn't matter whether or not I enjoy it. I hate it when people try and take other people's joy because they didn't enjoy something. But this guy was going ape. He was loving like this bit at the end, and like I am the opposite. I go, death to sorry, what death to death? What the fuck does that mean? Like I wasn't saying this, but my face very much was, and my friend in the middle just like kind of halfway between the two.
If he shouts it enough times, that's all it's been in this series I've noticed as well. If he shouts something enough times, it's true.
I mean, I was just thinking is that if anyone was kind of somehow viewing the three of us, you got one of us ripping up Rachel, the one in the middle neutral, and me like, oh, like someone's just pissed on my chips or something. It was just kind of quite funny. The difference was all, and it's like I was genuinely a bit conscious. I was like, right, don't ruin that guy's good. Like he's having a laugh. Keep it to yourself, even though your face is probably screaming, "What the fuck?" So anyway, yeah, we everything's brought back. The Ruby does the trick with the screen with Sutek as well, and then we find out her mum is nothing, which. I mean, just me who got Star Wars Rey vibes by any chance?
Well, apparently that's intentional. I read a thing with Russell T Davies today, actually, where he said that the thing that most annoyed him in the Star Wars trilogy was when they retconned that in Rise of Skywalker. So he wanted to do a similar plot beat, but not walk it back. Right. So I think the connection there is see this. I really like that Rey was a nobody, and I actually do like this. I actually do like this here, but I don't think they've played fair with the audience by the amount of things they've put in leading up to it. Like it's fine to go. Her mum was just a normal person. Then you go, well, why she got snow powers? Why was she wearing a spooky cloak? Why did she point at the thing? And it's okay to drop a few things in that misdirect you, but the point is when you get to the reveal, you're supposed to look back and go, oh, I can see why I was tricked by that, but there is an explanation for it. Whereas this, the only explanation is to trick the audience, and that's
I mean,
that doesn't work.
I would kind of liked it if they'd done something, if they'd given us. It's like I want to when I hear the explanation, like you say, I enjoyed it with Rey. I thought it was kind of a good idea. I wish they hadn't walked it back. But once that's been done by Star Wars, the only thing you're going to think of at that moment is of that Star Wars thing, and it like just seems like a copy. I wish Star Wars had done it. I wish they hadn't here because of that. But even then, if they're going to do it, I would like something to have us go, like if they'd had her in the background of scenes with Ruby in from her time, like where she was always kind of looking in on her. that would have made it a bit more. Oh, okay. Oh, I never like. Yeah, but some would have got, of course. Unfortunately, it's the only unfortunate thing, or even like had her in disguise in the back. Just what I mean. Something that you could then reveal that makes that moment special. I just didn't feel it. I don't know.
It's just
I think it's because all I think was the Star Wars already did that and then walked it back.
yeah. It's just you can't do the mysterious cloaked figure if there's no reason for it to be in a mysterious cloak.
Exactly.
Like
Unless she was going through a proper emo phase at 15.
maybe she was 15, yeah.
Oh, let me do a favor to anyone
Like
who was.
Pantera.
Let me do a favor for anyone else who's doing the same thing as Jim was doing over the other actress. She was in Trolley. This woman who played the mum.
There we go then.
From Sky, which she was.
What
really funny in. It took me age, but I was doing that after the film. After I watched it in the cinema, I was like, "Where have I seen it? Where have I seen it?" It was like about 1 o'clock in the morning when I got back. It's like, oh no, it was 1 o'clock when it finished. Yeah, probably at 3 in the morning. I was like just about to go to sleep. It's like, she was in Trolley. And woke up the whole house.
What I did really like about all of this, and I know this has been divisive just from the online discussions, but I really like the idea that their belief in the mystery is what imbued it with power. I just like that as a concept, the idea that stories and the stories that we tell ourselves have a power. And again, this would be something new to the Doctor Who universe, but I'm thinking, and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but I'm thinking Miss Flood is the god of stories, which would explain why them fabricating this story around Ruby gave it so much power. So that, like, I just like that concept anyway, but I think if that ties into next season and her being something very powerful that can bend the rules of reality in that way, I think that could be something really, really good.
You could have so much fun with that. They did it in Big Finish. They had a character who was the Word Lord, and he was called Nobody No One was the name of him. And yeah, when you wrote something down, it became, he could manipulate it into fact. So he could trick you into writing something down, which is ambiguous, and then he'd interpret away and then push reality. So it was tricky. Basically, I did a Mixus Pigalix, where you got to get them to say their name, basically Rumpelstiltskin, whatever you will. Where they got him to write, nobody did this or something like that, and they tricked him into banishing himself into the nth dimension. So yeah, you could have so much fun with a character like that.
Because it must be something that's been done specifically to Ruby to imbue her with that power, because there's a lot of people in the world who don't know who one of their parents is. So why isn't Sutek going, well, I need to know? Basically, Sutek could be on to Jeremy Kyle, wouldn't he, and be like, here, we need some lie detector tests and DNA. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the idea that believing something to be a mystery can imbue it with power, there would be a lot of things that Sutek doesn't know, not just the identity of Ruby's mother. So there must be like it was some other factor.
I felt, I mean, again, I sort of headcanoning it, but it felt like it was like, because it was a mystery around the Doctor. And he's basically following the Doctor like his soaps, it's like, I mean, at the end of the day. So it's like, I wonder if that was kind of just, I mean, I sort of like the idea that it was it's quite a petty thing. It's like, I'm going to destroy all of mankind, but this mystery is going to piss me off if I don't solve it. Kind of like my stories kind of thing. It's like, I've got some more important things to do, but if I don't find out who killed JR, I'm just not going to be able to sleep. And it's just like,
1 years old. He just wants his story. Show him my stories about my pudding cup.
It would have been good if Sutek had just gone, nah, don't care anymore. Like, oh no, but don't you want us to tell you, and we're gonna smash the thing? We got the rope. Like, nah, I don't care.
We'll get into Miss Flood again a bit more in a sec, but just quickly, we obviously said goodbye to Ruby. We know she's coming back in the next series, but she kind of went back. It seemed like a good wrap up to her. Certainly, her initial story that she goes off, and of course, she wants to spend time with her mum and find out who her dad is.
Have you seen today's announcement, by the way?
Which one? No, I don't think so.
about
Ooh.
Ruby.
Go on.
I think they're finally talking now that the series has ended. It sounds like next season she's literally a fleeting appearance. She's in one episode with something that's going to be mostly her family and not her, and then another episode where she's telling a story about a doctor. They're pretty much. He said, "Oh, the door's open for her in the future," and I was like,
"Oh, I read a thing where they said that there'll be 3 people in the TARDIS soon." So I got the impression we were going to be seeing a bit of her.
Oh, maybe this is an RTD. I was going to say maybe it's an RTD a misdirect kind of thing of like if we listen back because he did say
kicked out of the TARDIS.
Well,
no, she's coming back next year.
Yeah, and he was very much suggesting she was in like a fair bit, but I wonder, like, if we read back those interviews, the wording is something about 3 people in TARDIS, and I wonder if it's maybe in hindsight it reads a bit different.
I was reading it today, and pretty much from the sound of it, she's going to appear telling a story in a pub about the Doctor, and then her family are going to get closure, but she's not going to be in that episode.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. Just very quickly before
the rumours were probably true that she wrote herself out, acted herself out of a job with behind the scenes antics.
I don't know. You see, I don't. Maybe I want
to come out just after the finale, and they've kept it really positive right up till now. Makes me think they didn't want people to think there was animosity, and now it's all over with. They're just like, we can just kind of reveal it now.
But having said that, I mean, RTD, like with like Eccleston has repeatedly now talked out against the production, talked about RTD, and he's never fired back. So I don't know. I think honestly he's trying to be respectful. Just maybe he's managing expectations for the next series. And also, like, just because someone doesn't work out on a show, I feel like there's nothing from the Doctor Who camp itself. I've not heard a direct quote where she was a nightmare to work with. No one on the production particularly spoke out. However, when someone was originally due to be in 2 series, and there's loads of reasons why they might not be in both. Maybe she didn't enjoy the experience. It is quite intense.
I mean,
and stuff.
I got the impression from the way this, like the way this wrapped up made me think, well, was she designed as a 1-season companion anyway? Because it does feel like her arc comes to an end.
I felt like they tagged on the end to close it
off.
Oh,
do you think?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Really just stood in the corridor and like, I'm not coming with you. I'm off to see my dad.
Maybe. Yeah. Because maybe originally she was meant to be someone.
But if you take the word Millie Gibson and you turn the M upside down, it says Willie Gibson, which is William Gibson, who wrote all the like cyberpunk books. Necromancer. So this season was obviously a virtual reality construct. So they're still back on that planet from Dot and Bubble.
And that's a better anagram than the one earlier. Very quickly, before we go into Miss Flood, just because I've done it every episode, we're doing Fashion Watch with the Doctor. Oh, why is that not? Oh,
we can see
maybe something appearing on the screen. There we go. He's wearing his leather jacket. I think it's a slightly different leather jacket because I'm this geeky. I noticed from the one in Boom because it's slightly different cut. But kind of similar outfit. And we do see him at the end of the episode in his orange outfit, which I'm so glad that they kind of called back briefly. I was very much in 2 minds because I love the Doctor has a signature look. But I did love the fact that, Ncuti Gatwa is a fashionista himself and he just looks great and everything. So why not?
That's it. He's just a clothes horse. So they're just like, what do you want to wear?
So at the end of the day, I do lean into it, but I'm glad that we've got like 3 episodes. Like there's still enough episodes to him.
I mean, even Kat from Red Dwarf wore the same outfit more than once. So
Yeah. So we're on to Miss Flood. So on to Miss Flood. We do have the kind of little bit earlier on where she basically starts getting a little bit implied threat with Ruby's grandma, and then Cherry, and then when she's about to disappear, it's like, well, tell your gods I'm gonna knock down their golden. It was quite a nice little villain speech. But Some people have been pointing out some of her fashion choices and
Yeah.
comparing them to a couple of companions. This is why I think RTD. I don't think it's going to be either of these, but I think RTD
I
is
don't.
putting these in on purpose. So we've got the Clara comparison with the
Mhm.
collared top, which does look very similar, and then right at the end where she gets a bit Mary Poppins, we've got the Romana outfit.
Mhm.
I mean, he's definitely doing this on purpose. Let's face it,
And the
and it's not
frilly
going to be
umbrella
either of
is
them.
Romana as well.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the outfit is the misdirect because if you look at her, she looks a lot like Angie out of EastEnders, which ties back to
I'm not
the
saying that.
comic relief special, which made EastEnders canon. So that's how you bring Richard E. Grant's Doctor back. It's back to an EastEnders crossover, and we get the Queen Vic and Angie.
Was Richard E. Grant in EastEnders?
No, Richard E. Grant wasn't the Curse of the Fatal Death, wasn't that the Doctor Who, the EastEnders crossover, or was that a different
No, it's a different
Red
one.
Nose Day Doctor Who?
You've
Curse of the
merged them.
Fatal Death,
I've
where he
merged the
keeps going
two.
back in time with the Master to.
You're
Yeah, it
talking
was
about
the
Dimensions in
3D
Time.
one.
Dimensions in Time, which was the children in need.
Sorry, I'm getting my charity Doctor Who specials mixed up. Right, forget that theory then. She looks nothing like Anita Dobson.
No, I don't see
I
it. I
wondered
mean,
when
she
you
looks
said
a
it the
bit
first
like. Do you
time.
know what? I think she looks a bit like Brian May's wife, but that might just be me.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't know. Any more in jokes we want to make about Anita Dobson before we wrap
Not
this up?
particularly.
Yeah, that Mary Poppins ending. Yeah, whatever.
Again, though, we've got to
Story.
literally narrating the story now, so she has to have some kind of story power. Like, is
I am
she
liking that.
the omniscient narrator of Doctor Who? Can she make things happen just by speaking them? Is she the one who's got the snow powers and she passed that on to Ruby somehow? You know, I feel like.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I feel like there's strands that haven't been resolved yet, and I feel like we're gonna get that. And hopefully going back to my point about how Stephen Moffat tends to land these things better, he's writing the Christmas special, so if we get the explanation of Mrs. Flood in a Moffat episode, it might be really satisfying.
Did you see the video of an old interview that Moffat did while so before any of, like, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but before any of the new series had come out, he was asked about returning to Doctor Who, and this was before, like, I think they'd even done released the Tennant ones, and he's going, it's like, look, God, I know everyone likes the idea, but come on, like, no one wants to see me coming back, like, oh, what, boom, Joy to the World, Moffat's back. Boom was the episode he wrote in this series, Joy to the World, is his Christmas special. I thought that was Moffat level 10 right there.
Yeah, he's a very clever chap. Yeah.
And it's also hidden quite well because I think he'd be the first to admit he can be a little bit grumpy. Like I saw him at one event where he was kind of asked a bit of a silly question by the audience member, but he did very, I would say, overly more grumpy than he needed to be. It was something about the Sonic sunglasses because this guy didn't like them, and admittedly this was one of the guys who was being a bit of a dick about it. Basically, he was given one chance to ask a question of the current showrunner of Doctor Who at the time, and he decided to ask something about something he didn't like to be a dick. But Moffat, I thought, could have still been graceful, like, because he gave a wonderful explanation. He goes, look, do you not see, like, you know, he said, I've given something that everyone can have, like, you know, people don't have to spend loads on costumes on sonic screwdrivers. Anyone who's got a pair of sunglasses can be the Doctor now. But he delivered that in the most shitty version of that, basically. No, he didn't, like, the answer was fine, but, you know, be a bit magnanimous even when you're dealing with cretins like that, you know.
The more I see Moffat, the more I see. Did you ever see Coupling?
Sorry, see Copland.
Coupling.
Oh yeah, Coupling.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more I see when they go, well, Jack, what's his name?
Davenport. Yeah.
The way he's written is meant to be Moffat when he was younger.
Yeah.
And the more I see the grumpiness now, and it's like, you go, you know what, the grumpiness that he gave that character is really shining out in certain interviews, and you go, that's definitely him when he was younger. It's just like,
Yeah, I use a degree of it. Yeah, I mean, just to wrap things up. Yeah, basically. Oh, quickly before I forget, ratings. I haven't got the thing to hand, but basically, I put them apart for the whole series. Like, I think the lowest rating one was Rogue, which was one of my least favorite. I mean, to be honest with you, just for me, it's only because I'm not really into period dramas, and it felt like a period drama, and that just took me out of it.
we said a lot
But,
about that, didn't we, at the time? It just didn't.
yeah, but that was the lowest rating one. But even that wasn't a big dip below the rest. It's basically stayed between 4 mil. Sorry, no,
2 mil,
two and 3
day.
mil. Wait, no, I've got one from
2
the previous
mil
week.
overnight.
Here we go. Here's up until a few weeks ago. So yeah, it's between overnight of 2 point something and about 4 million.
That's
Yeah,
good.
between
I
3 and a half,
mean,
4 million. And
yeah,
that's true of
I
the last
think
few episodes.
that's
I think it's
I think
as
that's
respectable.
pretty good.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting to see what Disney want to do with it, because they've already funded next season.
Well, my
Whether
feeling is
they
this:
renew for a third.
I feel like I don't even think TV understands how TV ratings work
No,
anymore
I
because
don't think
it's
it does.
changing so quickly. And I think that we will really like the good thing about two series being made in advance is that they'll have time for the kind of binge watchers to have their go. And that is, I think it's got to be a huge market now because there's so many people I speak to about any TV show, not just Doctor Who. So I'm not putting any bias on this because I did generally enjoy the series, but it is that thing. Several people do say it's like, well, I'm waiting till they're all available, then I'm going to watch them all. So that is actually a big market. I think it can still
That's the
get a
big
boost.
thing, and
these ratings certainly for UK TV, like it's appearing in that first half of the ratings for that week, and like one or two in at least a few of the episodes. I haven't really kept up with that and where it positioned in BBC every week, but
and another big thing is with Disney getting this distribution deal, like, are Disney showing the old ones as well? Like, has Disney got the whole catalogue?
I think they
Right.
have. I think
So,
I'm not sure.
so
They
this
have
is
that as an iPlayer. They have that.
so
I
the,
was on there the other day. They have a better selection than iPlayer do.
there we go.
So you
So
say about Doctor Who? If that's an iPad got them all now. I think there was a
I believe
few
there's some
delayed.
older
no, it's
Doctor Who's on
missing a few.
Oh, they still not got the rights to An Earthly Child and a few others.
Yeah, apparently
With
not.
rights issues.
But that's my point. It's about the older ones because it's all about content now, and it's about hours that people stream everything. And yes, when you first drop all of Doctor Who, a lot of the rest of the world will be like, "Oh wow, we've only ever seen the new ones. Let's go back and watch this." But the novelty of that will wear off unless you keep making new things, and so it probably behooves Disney to keep making Doctor Who because they've got this big archive now, and every time a new season debuts and you get new viewers, they'll go, "Oh, look, there's 800 other episodes I can watch there," which means they can all watch 800 adverts and they can all, So I think it's a long-term investment.
For every episode Disney helped produce, they need to have 40 million eyes on each episode to draw break even on the episodes.
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
streaming is not very lucrative unless it's in volume.
I think it'll see over time is the only thing. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of things which people aren't understanding correctly, or people are kind of putting their own spin because they want to, because they don't like this series for whatever reason. And I think it's kind of it's like the ratings have changed since the day. Like people going, "Whoa, back in the day it got like 14 million or something." Yeah, TV got 40 million back then. It doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, but back a couple of series ago, Jodie's lowest one was only 2 million. It's like, yeah. And then there was more viewers on TV. So to achieve the same years later is actually better. I know it doesn't seem it, but because people watch later and there's so much.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I can't claim. I'm only surmising from I'm trying to be as even-handed and as objective as I can. but even I'm kind of speculating. We don't really know how it all works. Like, no one knows anymore. There's no real logic to it anymore. It just gets enough.
No,
Like,
there isn't.
it's a
And
bit more cut and dry, if anything, in Disney Plus world, because they're used to things getting released like this. We don't have that kind of model. We don't have that experience with something going on iPlayer first for something so big as Doctor Who.
no,
It's
and
weird.
that's new as well. And like I know from talking to you guys and other our close friends who we hang about with, who no surprise to anyone, are all geeks, and most of us
I
tended
cancelled
to
them.
be watching this when it first dropped, rather than waiting for 6 o'clock. Whereas the sort of people we know would have been people who would have made it appointment viewing, so it is going to have taken a hit there. But it's all BBC's a weird one to talk about viewing figures anyway, because it's not to sell it to advertisers, which is every other channel's primary objective.
But it's
It's
still as
weird.
beholden to viewing figures, because it's got to show value for money to, and like
Of
sell
course.
DVDs later, and everything. It's just different. Like you say, though, it does further complicate the model, I guess. Anyway, guys, I think that's a good place to leave it. Just very quickly, just to round it off, general feelings of this series. I've been mostly positive. I think the last episode explained some. I don't think it explained enough that, like, as much as I wanted it to. I don't mind ongoing plot with things like Miss Flood and stuff. But there's just so many little bits throughout that just so far don't seem to have gone anywhere. And at the end of a series, I do want to feel like I've got a complete story, even if there's some stuff ongoing. So generally, I'm positive, though. Jack?
I'd probably give it a C, which
Yeah.
for a sophomore, well, not for a freshman year, isn't too bad. David Tennant's freshman year wasn't great. Eccleston, he only had one series, so we always look at him in a different lens now. Matt
Yeah.
Smith's first series had some good episodes, but it'll be interesting to see where we go next year. And if it stays the same, then you say it's a bit more middling. If it improves, great, he's found his feet and he's off, he's steaming away. Our new Doctor.
I'll only add to that.
You've got to give him two.
I'll only add to that, with the kind of trickiness of it, is the fact that there's two filmed back to back. So the second series will basically go out, unless they do any reshoots, without knowing the feedback from the first. That's the only drawback of their new model that I can see, really. Jim?
Yeah, again, generally positive. I've enjoyed it more than I've enjoyed it in a while. It's felt like appointment viewing again. Like, I've been very conscious of, I want to watch Doctor Who the day it comes out, which towards the end of the Chibnall era, I wasn't feeling that. I love Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. I thought they were both fantastic. I think the opening two episodes were a bit uneven, and I think having two Doctor Light episodes back to back mid-season,
I'd agree.
coupled with the shorter run, it didn't necessarily show off everything it could have done, I think. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I'm excited to watch more Doctor Who again, which is great.
Actually, to your point, yeah, it would have been really interesting. Maybe like, because I thought Space Babies, in fact, the first two episodes, the first two episodes didn't, I don't know. Like, maybe if you put Space Babies between those two, it might have actually been better, because I think that would have been in more sharp contrast to the other two. But yeah. Anyway, guys, this has been wonderful. And yeah, sorry, in Space Babies also, I thought the reason why I didn't like that being the first episode was it was so like what RTT had done before, whereas all the other episodes felt really fresh and different to him.
It was a weird season opener.
Anyway, guys, let's give some quick plugs. Jack, the High Council of Geeks.
Yep, you can find us on Facebook, High Council of Geeks. We go to events, hang out. Yep, we're just a good bunch of dudes and girls who support each other and come and find us.
Jim, I believe you do a little known podcast by them, their name called Retrek.
Yeah, the Retrek podcast, which will be returning very shortly to cover Prodigy Season 2, which is due to drop on 1st of July, I believe, on Netflix, and it's going to go all at once. So 20
Dropping it
episodes
like
of it.
it's hot.
However, we will be covering 2 episodes a week for 10 weeks. We are not crazy enough to cover all 20 in one podcast.
Although I haven't done Squeefest for a while, we could just do 24 hours of Prodigy.
Could do, couldn't we? Yeah, that's a very good point. Don't get any ideas, no.
The Retrack 48-hour show.
Yeah, basically. Thanks, guys. This has been a blast as always. Yeah, that's it for Gallifrey Stands for the minute. We'll be back next season of Doctor Who, but please do join us on the Dr. Squee show. You can look up on Facebook, youtube.com/Dr. Squee. And next week, I will be releasing my interview with Sarah Pember, recorded at the Sci-Fi Weekend a little while ago. She wanted me to wait until her series, which is on Paramount Plus now. Insomnia is up. You can also check out on Netflix her series Through Her Eyes. Fantastic writer. Oh, and at some point, probably in the next week, I will also release under Gallifrey Stands my interview with William Russell, who recently passed away. But I want to wait until we were sort of finished covering the series. But anyway, guys, I've been Dr. Squee. With me has been Captain Jack and Jim, and somewhere about barking the house down is Walloo. And until next time we meet, live like you've got 2 hearts, and please be kind.